Hello everybody, I am Whittler Fam and welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button to see more videos on this channel, and if you like what you see today, click the like button at the end of the video. For today's video, we're going to be talking about the traditional Pokemon format, and we're exploring its many facets, as it is a new format made by myself and a few fellow Pokemon players in the community. We have our own Discord and we discuss and playtest this format, and it's quite a lot of fun. So explore the format with me, will ya? So we should tell you what is traditional format. So there's a lot of alternate formats out there these days. Last year we had the exciting Gym Leader Challenge format come out from the Tricky Gym at Full Grip Games, and we've got this different kind of format that explores with no EX, GX, or V Pokemon in the format. So it's exclusively all these single prize Pokemon available to you. Apex, Pokemon Break, and Prism Stars are still allowed in the format, so you still have quite a bit of variety. It's not a singleton format either, so you can do up to a play set of your favorite cards. And it's similar to Expanded, so it mirrors Expanded. It's black and white format to the most current set, which would be, as of the time of recording this, Fusion Strike. We're well on our way to getting ready for Brilliant Stars here in the next month, so that'll change things up, of course. And the ban list is pretty different due to different levels of power from Pokemon that are in the format. You'll see a few similar banned cards as well as a few different banned cards. So while it mirrors Expanded, it is different in its own right and does things on its own. So before you start thinking about what kind of cards you want to put into your deck, it's a very good idea we go over the banned list, since it will influence what you want to build with. So first we're going to talk about the Pokemon that are on the banned list, and right off the bat you'll see a few Pokemon that are already in the banned list and Expanded, and that's because Evolution Lock is a very powerful thing. We've seen in Archeops in the past where it was very oppressive, so it became banned in the Expanded format due to cards that were really powerful, like Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick, allowing you to cheat that Archeops into play very easily. And the same can be said with Dracovish, and although it's a little more of a nerfed card, because it has to be in the active spot for its ability to function, both pretty much serve the same purpose, and that is locking your opponent from playing evolution Pokemon. Now, removing EXs and GXs in Pokemon V means that you're taking away some of the more powerful basic Pokemon. And although there are powerful basic Pokemon in this format, not every deck is going to function off of those. So these evolution locks are going to hinder a majority of the decks in traditional format. And so for that reason, our ban committee decided these are very good cards to ban early before they become problems. Another couple of cards that kind of in the same vein of stopping your opponent from playing the game are these two dragon Pokemon, Drampa and Ultra Necrozma. Both of them are basic Pokemon that have very, very powerful attacks, where you have to put very little commitment and little cost into playing these. In the Expanded format, you have double Dragon Energy, for instance. That means that you can pay for both of these attacks with double Dragon Energy, because these are two different energies, but double Dragon Energy serves as a double rainbow on only dragons. And although Ultra Necrozma does have the ability, Ultra Burst, where it can't attack unless your opponent has 2 or fewer prize cards remaining, this is easily worked around with things like Garbotoxin and Silent Lab, shutting off basic Pokemon's abilities. So very little commitment required to get the Ultra Necrozma up and running, attacking for 170. You'll notice a lot of Pokemon you'll see in the format, in particular Inteleon, as well as a few other Stage 2 Pokemon. You'll see a lot of Inteleon in this format. You'll notice a lot of these Stage 2 Pokemon, even a few Stage 1 Pokemon, have sitting around 160 to 170 HP. So this is kind of that magic number right there. But these are on basic Pokemon attacking on turn 1, going second, with just one attachment. It's even easier for Drampa to do so, because it does not have an ability hindering it. All it needs is a damage counter on it, and you can get around that by playing things like Spiritomb combined with Jinx to move the damage counter to the Drampa. You could play Spikemuth the stadium that damages you when you get switched in. So if it was active and you play double switch, you could have damage counters on it. You could play Team Magma's Secret Base. Just benching this Drampa puts damage counters onto it. And so that very, very little commitment to get this Pokemon set up and attacking for 160, or with Ultra Necrozma, 170 damage turn 1 is just very oppressive. And it's hard to take down these Pokemon after they start going. And allowing Pokemon like this in this format means that you're going to see just a lot of these Pokemon and only these Pokemon. And so we also felt for this reason, after some very good playtesting with these cards, we thought it was a good idea to remove these from the format to give room to other Pokemon that can attack. And now you're going to start seeing some similar cards as well down here to the expanded ban list. The big one here, Oranguru, with its resource management, putting 3 cards from your discard pile, any 3 cards, on the bottom of your deck in any order. It just means that it gives so much power to control. And it was rightfully banned and expanded, as well as the Gym Leader Challenge format, actually. And that was just in 1 copy. Imagine what you could do with 4 copies of this. So removing this card was a very good idea to curve the bell for these control cards, as well as Marshadow still being banned and expanded, as well as Sableye from Dark Explorers. These extra 2 cards, however, I can't remember if Floette with Flower Picking is actually banned, but it does have a pretty unique ability where when you evolve this Pokemon, you could choose a random card from your opponent's hand, your opponent reveals the card and shuffles it into their deck. And I believe that combined with the Flabebe that can evolve turn 1 immediately means that you could scoop up net and get your opponent down to a very small hand very quickly. And although we're okay with a little bit of hand disruption, a little bit of control in the format, I think Floette's just too strong for that. And the last card I want to talk about is Shedinja. That Vessel Life ability, wow. I see a lot of creativity here. I see like plenty of different kinds of decks, not even control maybe. Maybe even like a mill strategy could use Shedinja to negate your opponent from taking prizes. The problem with this, though, is that we have cards that exist like Rescue Carrier that could just recycle these cards so easily and so efficiently and so quickly. And when you have that, and not everybody playing counters to such things like this, it becomes a real problem. So all of a sudden you can fall behind on the prize trade in just about any deck. So if you have like a powerful attacking deck and you start playing Shedinja, all of a sudden you just fall behind. And so we also thought it was a good idea to remove this card from this format. So those are the Pokemon. Again, you'll see some similarities between Expanded, as well as a few extra choices we had to throw in just to be on the safe side. Because remember, removing multi-prize Pokemon is a game changer. You just have a whole different class of Pokemon competing for the top spot. Now this page goes over the banned March cards. And what that means is each of these cards is involved in these sort of Night March style decks. We have Lost March, Night March, and Mad Party now in the Pokemon TCG. And all of these are great strategies, but you see a little bit of deja vu effect here with all these cards are doing the same thing. And all of these cards are also hitting for only 2 energy. Pumpkaboo hitting for 3, but if you count the Dimension Valley that's in format, then it does get down to 2. And then even turning Natu into a 1 energy attacker combined with Dimension Valley means that these Pokemon are just low commitment, low cost attackers that you could spam over and over. Again, with the Rescue Carrier, and you're already hitting the damage required with the other Night March attacker style decks with your other cards. So we'll take Mad Party, for example. You already have Poltegeist, Dedenne, and Galarian Mr. Rime. Now, all these cards are perfectly functional and viable, but it's very difficult to get a Dedenne to attack, and you have to evolve into Poltegeist to attack with that. Removing these cards just lowers the bar a little bit, makes these not so oppressive. Again, these are very easily counterable, but you get that sort of like mirror effect. You get too many of the same thing going on. And by doing this, all we're really trying to do is nerf the March style decks. And so it's a minor thing, really. If you enjoy these kinds of decks, play them in Expanded. but we wanted to give room to other decks to shine in here. So we nerfed pretty much every one of these styles of decks in order to make room for other decks. Now finally we'll go over the banned trainers. Now it's no coincidence, no surprise that Tropical Beach and Champions Festival are very hard to attain because they are promos only from Worlds formats. And you could pick one player out of 100 online, and you're probably just going to get one player that has maybe one Tropical Beach, maybe a playset, and so not very prevalent. You're not going to see these cards. So by availability and accessibility, we decided these cards would be removed. We did consider removing Ace Specs for a while as well, but we don't think Ace Specs are as big a problem since it's just limited to one copy per deck. And so we're okay with that. But for ease and accessibility, removing these two promos was important. And then as for the other stadium that was removed, Forest Giant Plants was already a big problem a long, long time ago, thanks to cheating out Vileplume and Decidueye GX, as well as countless other grass Pokemon could just get out turn one so easily. And really the big problem is still the Forest Giant Plants is able to get not just Vileplume turn one, but also the Shiftry Dark type. Since it has pre-evolutions that are grass type, you could just get right into the Shiftry and remove your opponent's Pokemon from play, and that's no fun. So unfortunately, we had to remove Forest Giant Plants from the game. And these other two cards, Lysander's Trump card is pretty much a no-brainer. This is another card that's banned in Expanded, as well as GLC, Gym Leader Challenge format. Now, Hex Maniac, this took some thinking and took some play testing. And what we realized was one of the most powerful deck engines in the game, Inteleon with Drizziles and Shady Dealings, means that effectively Hex Maniac, in the right player's hands, becomes a one-sided game very quickly and very oppressive. So removing Hex Maniac was a necessity, really. It does create skillful gameplay. It does create very interesting scenarios. But coupling this with just a powerful engine is just too much for the traditional format. And lastly, we have three other items here. We have Boost Shake, Duskstone, and Reset Stamp. Now, Reset Stamp is already banned and expanded for various reasons, mostly due to the fact that it's an item that can put your opponent down low on prize cards. And we feel that N already does this very effectively, so N is just fine in the format. Boost Shake, however, can get out a turn one Trevenant, item locking your opponent turn one going first. So that's disaster right there. We already know Trevenant is an issue, but adding to the consistency of making it available on turn one, whether you're going first or second, no matter what, Boost Shake just kills it. And as well as some of those evolution Pokemon that like turned off abilities for evolving, like that was a problem. So we just saw like Boost Shake becomes too powerful in a format where you don't have multi-prizers, and it's just unfortunate we just don't get to see anything with this Boost Shake show up. As well as Duskstone, really the problem there is combining it with Mismagius from Unbroken Bonds to just turn one, knock it out, draw a bunch of cards, your opponent goes down on low on prizes, and before you know it, you are spamming supporters against them to control them out of the game, just because you're able to evolve and knock out Mismagius turn one. So again, these are really fun, unique, interesting cards, but we want to create a play space that is more fun than degenerate. And so that's kind of where we are with these banned cards. These could easily change here with more playtesting and potential events with people jumping into this format, hopefully in the future. This is a nice little experimental playground to play a new expanded style format with single prize Pokemon. So we really hope that we can see where we go from here, and maybe the ban list will go through some interesting changes as we go through. So we have traditional format presented to you, and now where do you start? Where do you begin with building a traditional format deck? And the easiest conclusion I came to was when you're in doubt, just try an Inteleon engine with Shady Dealings and see where you can go from there. It's a very, very good card to help you like get started and jumpstart you. And then as I was exploring the card pool from past formats, I was seeing that lots of cards, lots of engines have existed in the past few years. The Jirachi Switch Scoop Up Net combo is still a very, very reliable engine to do fast decks, like similar to Buzz Zapdos, Zap Beasts as they called it. Mag Cargo is great for slower setup, and then Octillery and Snorlax, and even next format when Brilliant Stars comes out, Bibarel. These are all great cards that'll draw you extra cards. Even Zebstrika exists in the format and can just discard your hand and draw a bunch of cards, and you can get that going. If you want to slow your opponent down, you can do a slow setup Garbotoxin style deck to slow down ability-based decks, since abilities are very much prevalent in this format. Lots of decks do rely on abilities, so maybe you can capitalize on that with Garbotoxin. I think the bread and butter supporters are also very important. Playing Professor's Research and N are very, very good cards, as well as a few other cards like Marnie, Boss's Orders. Those are all very, very good cards. Stick with the cards that you know, try them out, borrow from what you know when you're playing in this format, because a lot of decks from older formats are probably going to work in this, especially those single prize decks, like in last format, or the format before last. When we were still in the team-up format, we had Firebox, which a bunch of single-prize fire Pokemon combined with Reshiram and Charizard GX, as well as a few other fire GXs. Remove the multi-prize Pokemon, and what do you have? Maybe you've got plenty of other different fire Pokemon that work out. Does the Firebox still hold up? Does an older deck that you've played still hold up? Try it out and find out. Get on to, with your friends on PTCGO and just try out a few decks. Get on to Unlimited, because this format is using cards that are banned and expanded in some capacity. We play a lot of Unlimited, and that is only playable with friends. So you can have a lot of fun just playing with friends in this format. So I've got a few deck lists I want to show off today. And the first one I'm going to start with is the first deck list I started building as soon as we came up with this idea. And the whole idea behind traditional format really did come up with just, we want something similar to Gym Leader Challenge, but we would love to play more than one copy. And we would love to play more than one color. We don't want to be locked into that one type. We want to be real Pokemon traditional trainers out there capturing other Pokemon of other types and building our own Elite Four beating team. And that's kind of the inspiration of traditional, where we cut out the big prizers, we get to take a break from standard and have some fun playing Pokemon. And what better way to have fun than to lock your opponent from playing items with Vileplume? Yes, that's where I went with my first draft of a deck. And this was really a first, maybe second rough draft of an Inteleon Vileplume list. And really, I'm taking inspiration from just trying out Decidueye Vileplume in years past. Back in 2017, Decidueye Vileplume was very good. Once we removed Forest Giant Plants, it did slow this deck down, but I was able to settle with a very traditional heavy supporter engine to go for control, since I'm not going to be playing a lot of items, and when I do play the items, I'm using those items to get Vileplume out with Rare Candy, potentially. I've got Steven's Resolve in the deck to search out all the cards I need, because I don't anticipate I'm getting hand disruption too often, and it's also a light attacking deck because you have the Quick Shooting Inteleon and the Shady Dealings Inteleon, where you can do both of their attacks. Aqua Bullet for 120 plus 20 in the back is huge. And Waterfall, 70 damage ain't bad, especially with Quick Shooting adding on damage counters. And of course the Vileplume with its irritating pollen. Once that Pokemon is in play, each player can't play items from his or her hand. Hence why you're playing a heavy supporter line. And again, I would like to fit more items in here. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work out, because when you're item locking yourself and your opponent, you just won't be able to recycle a lot of the supporters. So a few things I've thought about playing this deck is I definitely want maybe a little more energy disruption. So Faba is a big one, since a lot of players are going to become reliant on those special energy. I really would love to see more copies of Faba, potentially another copy of Raihan, since Cynthia is good for wheeling your hand and getting a fresh 6, but not always necessary, since you could just kind of sit on hands once you have your setup of Inteleon and Vileplume, as well as Octillery. and you can choose between one or the other Octillery. You can draw cards with Abyssal Hand, or you can use the Rapid Strike Search. The Rapid Strike Search is really just there to fetch out 2 cards in your deck, and that's Rapid Strike Energy or the Inteleon Rapid Strike. So that's really what that's there for. I could play other Rapid Strike cards as well if I wanted to in the deck, but I just don't know which ones to put in. Again, initial draft, a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun locking items on item-reliant decks in traditional format. We have another Inteleon deck as well. This one, we get a shout out to our Discord, the traditional TCG Discord is what we call it. I'll have links in the description. If we have a permalink, we'd love to see more players join the Discord and join in on the discussion. And this deck list is from Pell in the Discord, and it is really focused in on just Inteleon being the main attacker, as well as playing the Duskull Dusknoir. Now, I adjusted the deck list because we banned Hex Maniac, and this was an initial list with Hex Maniac. So I removed Hex, and I put in another copy of Dusknoir, and I even put in a Dream Ball because we have Peonia in the deck. There are times where you can Shady Dealings for the Dream Ball, get it into the prizes, and you could cheat out a Dusknoir instead of trying to do the rare candy in a Dusknoir. And all you're trying to do is hit 120 and 20 to the back, as well as do quick shootings. And if you don't knock something out, and your opponent has a bunch of Pokemon with small damage on it, essentially what you could try and do is get enough damage on the board so that eventually you could Sinister Hand, move damage counters around, and take key knockouts where you see fit. And then the rest of the engine, great that we have Dive Ball in the format, and as well as Aqua Patch, to just easily fish out water Pokemon without having to do extra discard from things like Quick Ball or Ultra Ball. Nonetheless, we are still playing the Ultra Ball in here. The Scoop Up nets to use Drizziles over and over again. If an Inteleon takes damage and it doesn't get knocked out, you can Scoop Up net the Pokemon, put it back in your hand. And then a few one-ofs here and there of things like Field Blower to potentially shut off Garbotoxin, Muscle Band to increase your damage output, a couple rescue cards like Ordinary Rod and Rescue Stretcher, and the A-Spec of choice in this deck is Dowsing Machine. You will notice some of my decks that I have listed today. I don't have a spec in all of them, and that's because some of them I don't have the room or don't know what to cut, and simply put, I don't have the A-Specs currently. So we have a few A-Spec friendly lists as well as minus A-Spec lists. So you can play around. There's more than just Dowsing Machine and Computer Search. You do also have access to Life Dew and Rock Guard and Scramble Switch. Very good in very specific combo decks where you want to keep energy on board. So this is a really fun one. I can't wait to try this one out. The last Inteleon list I want to look at is kind of a doozy because it's really focused on one Pokemon, and that's Guzzlord. So we're dealing with single prize Pokemon, and this has a very ADP style effect. Instead of Altered Creation, instead you just have an attack that does 120 damage. It costs quite a bit at 2 dark and 2 colorless. But if your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack, you take an extra prize card. Now that's great. That means you cut your game time in half so that every time you KO something, you'll take an extra prize card. So theoretically, all you need are 3 prize knockouts to win the game. But you can speed that up by comboing it with Jirachi Prism Stars with its Wish Upon a Star ability, where if you take this Pokemon as a face-down prize card during your turn and your bench isn't full, you can bench this and take 1 more prize card. Now, effectively, this speeds up the game where you can also take prizes with Quick Shooting, Inteleons, and cheat extra prizes in that way as well. So what you could do is you can combo Quick Shooting to KO something that you missed a knockout on, then you take a prize. And if you know your Jirachi's in the prizes, you know where it is, you take that prize, you bench it, you take another prize, and then the Guzzlord can Red Banquet to take another knockout, potentially, and you'll take 4 prizes in 1 turn. So that's how the combo of this deck works. You don't see Scoop Up Net in this to recycle using the Jirachi and using Peonia to copy it again. And that's mostly due to the fact that you are trying to get that Jirachi Prism Star prize when Inteleon takes a prize. Also, if you get into like a weird number of prizes, you can save the Jirachi Prism Star for like the late game to just take 3 prizes in one go with that. But really what you're trying to do is just take either 2 or 3 knockouts with this deck and like surprise your opponent with the amount of speed that Guzzlord actually takes. And of course you're able to do this with things like Dark Patch and the double colorless energy for quick attaching, as well as Beast Ring if your opponent's somewhere between 3 or 4 prizes. Now, I like the Puzzle of Time in this. I haven't been putting Puzzle of Time in my deck lists as much. Again, we haven't banned it. We don't see it as a big problem at the moment, but it's a really good card. But sometimes I just find myself needing room for other cards in my deck. However, Puzzle Time is great. Fetching back 2 Dark Patch is crazy. Fetching back a Beast Ring that you just played when you're only playing 1 copy. Fetching back Computer Search is also super busted. And we play a lot of 1-ups here as well. Playing that Energy Spinner to get you early turn energy, Escape Rope to give you that pivot if you need it, Special Charge to recycle, and double colorless energy in case you've prized a bunch or binned double colorless energy a little early. And so very, very fun deck. I'm excited to try this one a lot. This one looks like a lot of fun. Probably going to be a head scratcher because it's going to take some careful consideration on how to play it, but it's very rewarding if you pull off the combo. Next deck list we've got here is another one of my creations. I really wanted to create an item lock deck. You can tell I really love item lock, but I wanted to create one around one of my favorite Pokemon, which was Luxio Luxray. Because of its disconnect is so easy to set up, thanks to Shinx's evolutionary advantage. This can evolve on turn 1 if you go second. So you can disconnect turn 1 with 30 damage. You can up that damage with Electro Power, and item locking on attack is pretty good because the Vileplume is setup intensive. This sort of style of item locking is a little more of a kind of come out of nowhere item lock turn 1, go fast, and chip away at your opponent as your opponent just like draw passes if all they have are items. The Zapdos and the Jirachi package are also in here because Zapdos is a great early game aggression or mid game aggression with just 1 energy hitting for 80 if it moves from the bench to the active. And of course Jirachi is great because of Stellar Wish, getting you those extra trainers, supporters that you might need. And then I threw in a couple copies of the Luxray for Rebel Clash with Raid, as well as 1 copy of the Rapid Strike Luxray. I have yet to use the Luxray Rapid Strike much. When it does show up at counts, it's pretty cool that it can hit for 200 damage with Thunder Mountain for just 1 energy. But it's also nice to have that Electro Step to hit the bench and then switch into something. But I think the superstar here is after you've locked your opponent a few times, you can just raid for just 1 energy and hit for 160, or you can hit Headbolt for 120, again with 1 energy if you have Thunder Mountain Prism Star in play. And of course, Scoop Up Nets are going to be in the deck, and instead of playing a heavy boss count or even a heavy Guzma count, I decided 1 Guzma was enough and Pokemon Catcher was good. I think Pokemon Catcher is something that you definitely shouldn't sleep on in this format. Yes, it may be a coin flip card, but I think what's great about these coin flip cards is you get a lot of advantage from just playing a supporter, disrupting your opponent, or filling your hand size back up, or playing the Rosa to get everything you need. And then if you do flip heads on the Gust, it's a lot of value for you. So if you have the room in your deck lists, I would try out Pokemon Catcher in some of them because I think it's very, very good. Now another deck I want to look at is another product of username Pell from our Discord, the traditional format Discord. This was a lot of fun. This took a lot of collaboration between the other players as well in there. And it initially started with talking about a Pyroar deck as well as a Lugia deck. They were 2 separate decks. And we said, we really need a good Lugia. What's a good Lugia? And they said, Lugia from Fates Collide is really good because of pressure. And pressure is great because it reduces damage not just to itself, but also to your bench Pokemon. So if you're worried about bench spread from things like Tapu Koko, I think this Lugia is really, really good because it just turns that into 0 damage. And they need damage modifiers to get the damage up. But the other thing Lugia has is a Lugia Break. And this is another thing. We have not covered a single Break Pokemon in any of these deck lists. And this one is a superstar. We've got Trevenant Break in the format, and we do have Greninja Break. And Greninja is a solid deck. But this Lugia Break is something else. Because combining Lugia and Lugia Break with Welder means that you're swinging for big damage, reducing damage dealt to you, and if you had the space, I'm seeing it's not here now, but if you had the space, you can beef up this Pokemon just a touch more with Big Charm. And this becomes essentially a Stage 1 Pokemon, swinging for big damage, and very easy to set up. An awesome ability. Now, before we had Pyroar in its own deck, and we thought this would be a really good combination because both of them use Welder, and you have the deck space, and now you can pivot between 2 attackers. But what's really cool is the Pyroar, not just the intimidating main that can lock other basics out, but also the Pyroar with Flare Command. Once during your turn, you can discard a fire energy from this Pokemon. If you do, you get a Gust. That is a huge upside. It's very similar to Ninetales that existed that allowed you to Gust and discard 2 fire. It was from the Team Up set. But this one only requires 1 fire energy, and it does require the attachment. But if you stay ahead with your Welder plays and using Lugia, I think this is going to be great. I think this deck is going to be super busted when Magma Basin comes out in the Brilliant Stars set. Because now Magma Basin allows you to set up a Pyroar to it. You don't even have to waste an attachment on it. You just get the energy from the discard pile onto the Pyroar, discard it, and then you've got a Gust. You don't even have to commit any spaces to Gust for supporters in this deck at all. You don't even need Pokemon Catcher. You have Pyroar to do it for you. We have the 1-1 Slugma Magcargo line because Smooth Over is very, very good. It's sort of a slower to set up deck, but once a Lugia is set up, if your opponent can't get over this, you can just dominate. I got the 1 Acerola in here as well to pick it up, and 2 Mallow and Lana, because switching and healing is just as good. And then a little bit of Hand Disruption in N, Lucamine to recycle those stadiums you want to use over and over, as well as a couple of your supporters. I threw in Lysander Prism Star. Pell threw in his list a copy of Pyroar Break. I was really liking Lysander Prism Star because you could actually get rid of special energy in your opponent's discard pile, and at certain times that's really, really good, effective. Getting rid of their special energy, just exiling it, putting it in the Lost Zone, really, really good. And then, of course, plenty of other fire energy, a couple double colors energy, fire crystal to recycle. This deck's just tons of fun. I recommend this one. This is so fun. I was so glad to pick up the Lugia Break and the Lugia that you can get in a theme deck, by the way. You can get the Fates Collide theme deck. These Lugia are easy to get, so a lot of fun. Another really fun deck that I just picked up from an older format and transitioned into this new format is Xerneas Rainbow Force. We're just trying to get a bunch of different Pokemon on the bench. And at first I started with a Skyfield in the deck, but you don't need Skyfield because your damage threshold, again, you don't need to hit really much more than 160 damage. So having 5 or 6 different types on your bench, which is possible thanks to the Galvantula with 2 types, as well as just the plethora of Pokemon you're going to play. Setting up the Xerneas, setting up the multi-type cards, setting up the draw engine from Octillery, the Oranguru to swap cards. The Oranguru specifically is in here because we play a couple copies of Ether. I would like to work more copies in because Max Elixir is great to get basic energy from the top 6 cards. If you find a basic energy, you can attach it to one of your bench basic Pokemon. But Ether attaches to anything. And you can guarantee that Ether by just playing the Oranguru Primate Wisdom. Put an energy back into your hand, a basic energy on top of your deck, and then play Ether and get the attachment. And you can set up Xerneas very easily and very efficiently. And with a Fighting Fury Belt, Xerneas is 160 HP and hard to overcome. So a lot of fun. I played, me being indecisive, I just played 2 copies of all my favorite supporters in this list. And then when I realized I didn't need Skyfield anymore, I put Fairy Garden in to give the Xerneas free retreat. So great deck, a lot of fun to play. Has some consistency issues, but if you want to pop off with a big Rainbow Force deck, try this one out. Next, we have a list from another Discord user. ATFI is their username, and they really had fun building a Meloetta Garbodor list. I made, I think, just a few card adjustments. It really could be the exact same list. I think the only difference is maybe an energy here, an extra Elsa Sparkle. But the idea behind the deck is to use Garbodor to lock your opponent out of abilities and just attack with Meloetta. You have Dimension Valley to reduce the cost of the attack by 1. So you only need 1 Fusion Strike energy to attack with this Meloetta. And using Elsa Sparkle again and again, turn after turn, using either VS Seeker to use the Elsa again, or the special charge to recycle the Fusion Strike energy over and over. This is very similar to expanded decks, except now you just have no Genesect in it. And that's perfectly fine. You just want to set up with Meloetta, and that's it. Or Choreo to reduce damage in case the damage becomes relevant. But really, the superstar of this is Meloetta hitting for that easy 210 to 280 damage if you have 3 or 4 Fusion Strike energy in play, and then just using that again and again. Now, of course, things like Faba are pretty annoying and Enhanced Hammer are pretty annoying, and that's exactly why you're going to play things like Special Charge and Elsa Sparkle to continually recycle doing those effects again and again. And again, copying that attack, using that attack with Dimension Valley is great, because then it's just a 1 energy attachment instead of a 2 energy attachment commitment to get that attack into play. Really fun. You could also boost the damage if you only just have 2 Fusion Strike energy in play. You're doing 140. The power tablets do allow you to get to higher damage with just a few energy on board. A lot of fun. Really cool deck list. Awesome. And the final list we're looking at today is another creation by the community in the Discord. This is one I haven't tried. I'm very curious. I need to get a playset of Execute with Propagation in order to play it. So I only have 2. Once I get 4, I'm happy to try this out. And that is the Zorork Executor deck. The Zorork with Phantom Transformation has a lot of utility in this format, actually. Mostly because all you have to do is transform into a stage 1 that's in your discard pile. So the Executor is really cool because it has 2 attacks, Paradise Draw. You could discard any number of cards from your hand, then draw until you have 6 cards in hand. Technically combos with the Execute with Propagation, because all you have to do once your turn, if this is in the discard pile, you could put this Pokemon in your hand. Because it's changing phases, changing areas, you technically can infinitely do Propagation with each of your Execute. And the X-Splat attack is why this Executor is in here. For a Grass and a Colorless, or a Double Dragon Energy, you can discard any number of Execute from your hand. This attack does 60 damage for each card you discard in this way. Now, ordinarily, you'd have to evolve an Execute into an Executor, and because you have to play by the rules of the game, you can't have more than 4 Execute, more than 4 Executor. So, you would ordinarily have to evolve an Execute, and then your damage would be capped at 180. That's actually plenty, honestly. In this format, 180 is still a really good amount. But we're not stopping there. We want to hit 240. We want to hit max damage. That's why we're playing the Zorork, and that's why we're playing Ditto Prism Star. These cards allow you to get the Executor into play without even putting an Execute down. So, you don't play a lot of basic Pokemon, so you definitely are going to mulligan from time to time. So that's why we're playing some Scoop Up Nets, so you can make sure to get the Executes. If you do open with them, get them into play. You have the Battle Compressor to get the Propagation Executes into the discard pile immediately. You have consistency supporters like Cynthia and N to just constantly cycle your hand so you can get the Ultra Balls, get the Level Balls, get the cards you need searched out, set up, and getting those Execute into the discard pile. An awesome card to try out too, Lance Prism Star. You can play this if one of your Pokemon was knocked out last turn. Search your deck for up to 2 Dragon Pokemon. Another way to cheat Executors into play. You could use the Zorork or the Ditto Prism Star to get the Executor into play, or you could just special summon them from the deck. Isn't that fun? Yeah, Lowland Executor, really cool, exciting combo deck. I see that they're playing Bodybuilding Dumbbells, and I just realized Executor has 4 retreat costs, so technically you could play buff padding to get it up just a little bit more. But I suppose if your opponent had anything that changed the retreat cost, it would immediately reduce the HP of that Pokemon and like null the effect of that. At the very least, bodybuilding dumbbells does grant that Alolan Executor an extra 40 HP, and I think 200 HP is very reasonable. You're weak to Fairy, and if not a lot of players are playing Fairy, then you're in good shape, getting you 200 HP where you can tank a hit, use Crystal Cave to heal a little bit, and yeah, really, really exciting deck. That's going to do it for the deck lists. I had a lot of fun going over these decks. It's really fun to explore the format. It's refreshing to see a format that doesn't have multi-prize Pokemon, and can be just as fun and exciting as the Gym Leader Challenge format. So if you're at all interested in this, we will leave some links in the video down below so you can check out our Discord, check out my channel, and if we have any other resources on this, we are working on a website. It should be going live, I want to say, just about any day now. Any day between now, the upload time, and sometime into February. Once we have that website, we'll have all the rules, comprehensive deck lists, and ideas for what you can do in this format. We definitely hope to be doing some online tournaments as well in the future. But if not, you just want to have fun with this with your friends, try out something different, try out Traditional, get on to Unlimited, pair up with your friends on PTCGO, and have some fun. And tell us what you think. Do you like Traditional format? Do you think this has a place with the other alternate formats in the Pokemon TCG alongside Expanded and Standard and GLC? Do you think this is something you'd be interested in? Let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. Click the like video if you liked what you saw. Hit subscribe if you want to see more videos. I look forward to talking with you about Pokemon TCG again soon. Bye-bye.